Morning, everybody had coffee, tea, and still not much of energy. Let's do it one more time. Good morning! There you go, very good. Hi everyone, my name is Santosh Kumar and I head up the financial services, technology, FinTech and the banking services sales in HCL Technologies. And I'm based in London for last 12 years. Prior to that, I was in Singapore managing the region for HCL Technologies and associated with financial services all throughout my career. Very happy to be here today to talk about something very interesting, a topic that is close to my heart, reimagining banking and what the role FinTech is going to play in the digital transformation. But before we start, I thought, maybe I'll start with a small story that from 2012. I don't know how many of you were here when in London hosted the Olympics in 2012. Many of you, right? And then some of this component of the story you will be familiar with as well. So I moved with my family in 2012 to set up our FinTech lab in Heron Towers, and we started the lab and very happy. And July, and we had this Olympic event, huge event coming up. And so 2012 was the year, and everybody was happy. I went to watch football matches, and I went to Manchester to watch Belarus play Brazil. And came back, Liverpool Street Station, right next to our venue, going back home. And guess what will happen? Somebody nicked my wallet. I lost my wallet, all the cards, driving license, whatnot, everything gone, right? And go home, call, every bank. I mean, there was no facility in the mobile app to really have a card freeze or press a button and block your card. There was nothing like that. So I have to call the call center one by one, American Express, Lloyds Bank, Barclays, and say, this happened, block my card. Everybody has to issue the new card and all of that, right? I call up police, said, look, I want to report this. They say, oh, I'm very sorry. You are the 100th person calling today. That's happening in Liverpool Street Station. So very sorry for that. Here's the insurance number that you can claim, right? And the case closed. So the next day when I come to Liverpool Street Station, I see something very funny. They said, beware, pickpockets operate in this area. So that's what I got from doing all that thing. But the urge of doing having an ability to really on the hand, a mobile, and you have to click a button to just say that block my card. As simple as that was not available in 2012. I had to wait till 2015 to have this facility on the phone app, and the guys who gave us was Monzo. I don't know how many of you know, they launched at Mondo, and then they became Monzo after 1 year. So Monzo provided the facility of doing, card freeze, and now this is a very common feature in all the banking apps, right? So what I'm kind of saying is that the FinTech that started to play a big role in transformation of the banking the way we see today. After 2012, we have 12 years now, and most of the banks have learned to focus on transformation, digital transformation. This is very important for them, and there is a big role that FinTech is already playing, but they will continue to play a bigger role as they move into the next 10 years or 20 years in this industry. So, why the traditional models of banking is not going to work, right? That's because people like all of us in this room, we want control. Customer wants the control. We want to know what's happening with our investment. We want to be on top of our money. We want to be doing everything very instant, right? So today, if I have to pay or send money to India, to my parents, I don't want to wait for 3 days, going to a bank, saying, hey, this is to send £1,000 to India, and then wait for 3 days for my parents to receive it. What I want is a click of a button, you put the £1,000 there, and press the button to send it, and then it goes into my parents' account in seconds, if not minutes, right? So that sort of a thing is what the expectation. So instant gratification, customer control, and the disruption. I mean, we all want to see how new things are evolving. I mean, I don't know how many of you invest in crypto, but Revolut provides you an ability to kind of trade, and many other banks are going to come in and look at and also see how we can work on having crypto as part of your wallet and so on and so forth, right? So it's a very interesting space, and that's where traditional model doesn't work. And that's the realization that has happened to all the banks, high street banks in this, in UK. And you can see that by the way the banks are kind of upgrading themselves, right? So I don't know how many of you are Lloyds member here? Lloyd's customers, anybody? Yeah. So you would have had the app refresh, Lloyd app refresh. Everybody have seen the new screen of Lloyd's, white screen, and to try to come up with the, catch up with the Revoluts and Monzos and TransferWise and so on and so forth, right? They want to make it more easy, more customer friendly, and so on and so forth. So it's a big realization that it's not just about digital, right? It's about the experiences that you, through the fintech innovation, that you want to deliver to your customers. Right? Open banking came. Open banking is a huge driver for consuming APIs from the different fintechs that's exposing or creating, launching a new product in the market. So it's opened up a whole number of avenues for other fintechs to come in and innovate in the space as well, right? So that's the kind of thing that we are seeing today in the market. Now, what's the role fintech is going to play in future? So there's a huge push from a lot of the high street banks to come and launch their own challenger avatars, right? So one such story, I'm sure you would have all picked up, Zing, which was launched in 2024 in the UK market. Taking on the likes of TransferWise, Revolut. They are into the international payments and multi-currency wallets. What's the idea there? Idea is that HSBC wanted to go after the customers which are not their existing customers. So how do you attract those customers? You launch something which is a brand new image, a fintech, a logo that's kind of attract and it's looking cool. As you can see from the images, if you don't have the Zing app, you can download and see that. But I myself have used that. I've sent money to my parents. It takes 3 minutes to send money from using Zing to India, right? Which is amazing. I've never thought that HSBC will be able to help me do that. But hey, that's something through Zing, they're able to do it. The other example, Marcus, I don't know how many of you have seen this. Goldman Sachs tried to launch their own brand in the UK market. JP Morgan has done that with Chase, which is one of the popular UK bank now. All of these are the kind of looking at how this digital transformation, fintech is driving digital transformation and helping larger institutions to launch the challenger avatars in the market. So where are we going with it? It's very clear that what we see that it's more and more about collaboration between fintech and the bank, right? It's not about saying fintech versus bank, it's about collaboration. How can I leverage? How can I use the technology? How can I use the methodology? How can you learn from the fintech and do it in the bank, right? And vice versa, right? Fintech need the scale, they need the might, so they need to collaborate. And I'm not sure whether you noticed, but there are a couple of very interesting examples of how fintechs and banks have come together to launch something very cool in the market, right? So a couple of examples I'm kind of wanted to talk about today. So number one is Vodeno and NatWest. So Vodeno, I'm sure you would have heard, it's a banking as service fintech. It's been there in the market for a while. NatWest and Vodeno came together to kind of launch this whole banking as service financial experience that they wanted to give. So NatWest came with the concept called Boxed. So it's there with the Vodeno, right? Now, obviously, there's a, Vodeno being a banking as service in fintech, coming to with large financial institution like NatWest, how this thing can together happen. They have shown it. They proved saying, look, this something is possible. Another very interesting example of this year, 2024. I don't know if you've noticed, HSBC has launched something called SEMFI. So the SEMFI stands for like Seamless Embedded Finance, right? So Seamless Embedded Finance has been launched by HSBC in collaboration with a fintech called TradeShift. Now TradeShift is expertising in account payables, receivables, and they are in the embedded finance space. They're looking at collaborating with HSBC, and they've created a JV. Joint venture has been created between HSBC and TradeShift, which is now called SEMFI. And that is what is now kind of driving this embedded finance for HSBC into the market, right? It's a very interesting proposition. So it's not just about collaboration that we see on the paper, but we are seeing that coming into reality, right? So these are some of the examples that I thought is very relevant, very important that it's in the context. So overall, if you look at the fintech landscape, and this is from the Innovate Finance report that I recently picked up, right? So there are more than 3,500 fintechs in the UK. And what's interesting is around 98% of the fintechs in the UK economy are contributing towards the growth of the economy. They are creating jobs. And this is a really, really proud thing for all of us, and we should be proud of being in UK, being in London, and seeing in a time where we are seeing this fintechs creating jobs opportunities when there is an economic pressure around the globe. Right? That's a very, very important aspect. What they're doing is they're also trying to come up with solutions which is around productivity, efficiencies, innovation. They are leveraging technologies such as AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. How do I leverage technology to drive innovation? So there's a huge number of fintechs around that. 90% of the fintech in UK sector is all contributing towards or abiding towards the sustainable development. So that means all are kind of, sustainability is a big topic, but 90% of them are actually, if you work with them, if a bank wants to embrace a fintech, 90% of them are already sustainably compliant, which is a huge, huge thing in today's market. Right? So UK and specifically in London is producing so many fintechs, and I think it's an absolutely amazing time for banks to drive digital transformation in collaboration with the fintechs. Right? There is no better time than this. And if you look at the kind of, the third point, which is on 39% of UK fintechs. See, one of the point, it's very close to my heart, is about financial inclusion. So we all talk about banking, we all bank on our mobiles, but there are many across the globe who are still, looking for a bank account. They do not have a bank account. Their credit history, they don't have a credit history. They don't, they are living under the poverty line, and there is a huge drive for financial inclusion. But this is something which caught my eye. 39% of UK fintechs are helping to drive the financial inclusion. This is not a small story. It's a big. If you have 100 fintechs, around 40 of them, if they are participating in financial inclusion, that's a really, really big number. Right? That's something really, really good for me. So what does it mean, right? All of these things are trying to shape up our thought process, our thinking, and how we see the world for tomorrow. Right? And most importantly, let's look at how we see in 2030, how the banking would look like in next 6 years, 5-6 years time, right? The next frontier. Now, everybody would have heard about the AIs being in the branches, right? Most of us have seen some or other avatars of hologram of an agent standing at a booth or an airport. I'm sure London Heathrow Airport, you would have seen a hologram, or in many other places you have seen. That's going to be reality, right? Whether we like it or not, AI is there. Right? Humans are going to be there, but definitely AI is going to play a larger role in transforming the financial services industry. And banking is no different. So AI powered everything. That's one of the things that I believe is going to be key, whether it is transformation, AI using into fraud detection, whether you're using AI to payments, AI in chatbots. I'm not sure how many of you are NatWest customer, but NatWest has a fantastic chatbot Cora, which is probably, from a banking perspective, the number one or number 5 of, in the rating when it comes to chatbot, a banking chatbot. Right? So they're using AI-driven technologies. AI technologies there to drive a lot of, this conversation with the customer, enhancing the customer experience. So AI-powered everything is going to be a key thing in the fintech. And one of the role that fintech is going to play in the coming future is about how do you leverage technology to drive digital transformation. Second, digital assets. Again, very interesting thing. I don't know how many of you picked up RLN. Raise your hands if you know about RLN, Regulated Liability Network. Anybody? So RLN is, recently UK Finance, if you can pick up that and, read it on, UK Finance has actually published a paper on Regulated Liability Network, RLN, which has been, all the banks in the UK participated along with Visa, MasterCard, and a whole bunch of others. The idea is to look at decentralized or distributed ledger technologies. So they are using R3 Coda for for RLN. So distributed ledger technology for 3 use cases. Number 1, how do I reduce the fraud for payments on delivery? Number 2, how do I use the technology RLN network for international payments, right, and settlement? Number 3, how do I use the RLN for bond issuance? So these are the 3 use cases being tested by the banks, successfully tested. Paper is also published. So digital asset and digital currency is going to play a big role in going forward. And with digital euro is there, digital pound, we are all know that there's a lot of talk going around. So this is going to be one of the key things that we will see as we move forward into the next 5 years. Third, invisible banking. I call it invisible banking. But whatever we talk today to speak about embedded finance or having customer experience delivered on the point of sale, when you're traveling on or booking a flight, you get an insurance also embedded with it, or you have ability to book hotels when you're trying to book your plane ticket. So there's a whole experience. So banking is going as delivering you a lifestyle banking. So it's no more about banking only for using your money for savings and mortgages, etc. But how do bank play a role? And that's where the word invisible, because it's not that we don't want to see the bank, but bank needs to be following us wherever we need them at the time where we need them. Right? That's the way I see it. That's the way this next 5 years is going to go. Last but not the least, financial crime prevention, fraud prevention. It's increasing a lot. Frauds is everywhere. I don't know whether you heard a story in India what happened. I mean, there's a whole physical branch came up called State Bank of India came up in one of the villages, and they set up the whole physical branch, and after a week it disappeared. Right? So took the money and disappeared. So all sort of weird frauds are happening in the world. So FCP, cybersecurity, definitely going to play a big role, and FinTech's role in this is going to be critical. So as the bank drive the digital transformation, they will look for partners, they will look for solutions from FinTech, which are really solving these problems, right? So this is, on this note, I think I just wanted to kind of bring my, a statement which says FinTech, it just isn't about transforming banking. It's about transforming our lives. And this is the time for us to reimagine banking. With that, I want to thank you all for being a very nice audience so far. I hope there's no too nasty questions coming at me. But otherwise, thank you very much. Nick.
I do like the way you phrased that for being a nice audience so far. It sounded slightly ominous. I will go to the room for any immediate questions. I know I have plenty. Any from the room? It appears not. We do. We had one there and then one at the back. I'll come to the front first.
Hi, you mentioned HSBC and NatWest and what they're doing. How do you see the competitive market if the big banks decide that they're going to play in this space? How do you see it working between the smaller fintechs that are trying to innovate and the larger banks that are trying to, I guess, stop them from taking share?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Excellent question. See, the market is quite huge. If you look at the particular problem of embedded finance or banking as service, the market is so big that a particular bank coming with a fintech and going into market is not going to eat up all the share of the pie, right? Obviously, bank sees that, or the financial institution sees the threat from the fintech. If TradeShift is a significantly successful company who is doing the great thing in embedded finance, similarly, Budeno's example. So they are there. So these are the sectors that if banks are not entering, they'll get disrupted. So there is an appetite from the bank to say, hey, let's go and do something. Otherwise, I'm not there in the pie at all. So I'm going to lose out. So I want to be part of it. So that's how we see it. So there's enough for everybody to play there.
Thank you very much. I saw another hand over here. So, hidden behind the pillar.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for the talk, really interesting. Just one point you talked about, which was like this inclusivity piece. Have you got examples of fintechs that you've seen really make a difference in that space? And what more do you think us and all of us in this room could be doing to drive that agenda?
Right. That's a great question again. So I think, one of the things that what I have seen is the basic necessity starts with having lending, right? So people want to borrow 100 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds a day. So we work with one of our customers is IPF, International Personal Finance, and I know that the agents, which they go out and they pay kind of money lend money, and then they collect the money from the people, because there is no credit history in several parts of the world. There is there is no other way to do it, right? Now, obviously, they are moving into mobile. They're moving into technologies using the kind of internet portal to come in and say you put your kind of credit, details and so on and so forth, and it will give you a credit scoring. But there are many times this credit scoring also doesn't help to get enough of the loan or lending that the person need to survive that particular week or a day or whatever. So having a bank account becomes a very critical thing, because it is sort of showing that you have an identity, you have an account, you have start of credit scoring, it happens, and all of that, right? So credit becomes very important. So that's where I think the new age fintech, to your question saying how do we help, I think the more and more, if we look at products that is relevant from that percent of the percentage of market where still they are underserved, and how do we serve them better? How do we engage them? How do we have the accounts open? So one of the things, I'll bring the India example here. And what India did was to drive this massive adoption of open the bank account with zero balance. So for everybody. So if you have an identity, if you have an Aadhaar card, in India there's identity for Aadhaar card. Here we have like our own passport or a driving license. If you open the account with just the identity, and that's the start of the inclusion. Right? Then you can start adding products, lending products, and so on and so forth for that.
Thank you. Any further questions from the room? No, and just a reminder, if you are joining us online as part of our virtual audience, you can ask questions through the app. They come through to me, and I'll fit as many of those in as I can. My last question really is linking to something you were saying about, I think it was Monzo, when they introduced the freeze your account section. I often try to be the voice of the customer in the room, the non-expert when it comes to fintech. How important do you think it is linking success to technological development? Because I know the number of people I know, family members, who's changed their bank because, you can now use saving pots here, or you can freeze your account here, or look, my app can do this. How much of a link do you think there is between being at the leading edge of technology and success in the marketplace?
I think it's the way I look at it, if you look at my son today, he's 20, he's doing his third year in university. And he's using all these modern platforms. So he uses Monzo, he uses Zing. He's used to things which is not traditional bank. They don't offer things, right, which is Revolut and all of that. So I think it's very, very important to stay ahead and technologically advancement. And these small successes that I've spoke about, this will drive the customer to stick to you. This will drive that customer experience that the other banks are not doing. And these small things goes a long way in delivering that experience, and therefore you have a sticky customer. I have moved to Monzo. I'm sticking with Monzo for a long time. I have Revolut accounts. I'm sticking with Revolut. So where do you go for the large banks? Only when it comes to mortgages. So I go to large banks because these small banks don't do mortgages yet. If they start doing mortgages, I don't think that I'll still go to anybody else for that. But from my day-to-day needs, my traveling needs, I travel a lot, so I need FX. So I use all these modern applications. So I think it's very important, and it's going to continue to play a big role in terms of people switching into and staying with this modern age platforms.
Okay, well, I think that's been a fantastic start to the show today. It's rounded up a tremendous amount of things in a short space of time and really lays the groundwork for the rest of the event over the next 2 days. So a big thank you to Santosh Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.